Hello and welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, where I discuss the future of this region blessed humongously with hydrocarbon resources. Every week we give time to reflecting on topics relevant to the development of the Niger-Delta and her people. Now this edition is no different. We're here once again to focus on taking the region to a more promising future. And be reminded the program is sponsored by the operator of the NNPC, SPDC, Total Energies Archive Joint Venture, a Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited, headquartered in Port Harcourt. Thank you for joining. I'm Adedayo Olusakin. And the topic on this edition of Canvas is Shell Scholarships Turning Dreams to Reality. In this episode, we delve into the transformative power of education and opportunity. Shell scholarships have been instrumental in changing lives, offering financial support and mentorship to bright and ambitious students. Now, these scholarships are not just about funding education, they are about empowering individuals to reach their highest potentials and make a significant impact in their communities. Join us as we share the inspiring stories of how Shell scholarship recipients have overcome challenges and seized the opportunities provided by Shell. We'll hear firsthand how these scholarships have opened doors, fostered innovation, and turned dreams to reality. Whether you're a student aspiring for greatness, a parent supporting your child's educational journey, or someone who believes in the transformative power of education, this program is for you. Get ready to be inspired by the incredible journeys and achievements of these remarkable individuals. Stay tuned. Let's celebrate the power of dreams and the impact of Shell scholarships together. Again, today the topic on Canvas is Shell scholarships, turning dreams to reality. And my guest is Emmanuel Ayem. Emmanuel Ayem is a social performance and corporate responsibility specialist with over 25 years oil and gas industry experience in roles delivering social performance, strategic social investment, non-technical risk integration, stakeholder engagement, and local content. He was appointed social performance, social investment manager for Shell companies in Nigeria in December 2021. Emmanuel Ayem, hello to you. Welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable.
Good morning, Dio. Very many thanks to you for having me.
It's great to have you here. And I'm sure
Thank
we're
you.
going to have an interesting conversation.
Looking forward to it.
Opportunities is one that we all seek as individuals, irrespective of our status or what we may have accomplished in life. And an opportunity to get an education, especially being able to afford one and qualitative one, is one I'm certain a lot of people are looking out for. And this conversation offers an opportunity to get insights as to how Shell is doing that, and especially how you and your team are making that happen. So I'm sure that we will get a lot of attention for this edition of the show. Thank you for being here again.
Thanks again, Dio.
So let's start on this note. What inspired Shell to start a scholarship program, and what are its main goals?
Dio, first, I would like to mention that our social investment or our corporate social responsibility in education was the very first social investment program for the Shell companies in Nigeria. And it dates back to the early 1950s, right from the onset of our operations here in Nigeria. And the inspiration basically has to do with the pivotal role that education plays in nation building. So very early on, Shell identified the role of education in nation building. Additionally, also, education is very important in enabling companies find a pool of skilled manpower to support their operations. And so Shell began very early on in its operations here in Nigeria to support education and educational scholarships.
Why? I find that quite interesting. And I'm sure that, there must have been, and there still remains, and there will be educational needs or gaps that need to be bridged in Nigeria, in the Niger-Delta, or elsewhere, anywhere in the world for that matter. Why education, however? I'm sure at the time, and even now also, Shell has identified other needs in our host communities and other parts as well, and it has interventions to help in these areas. Why education? Why particularly that first?
So Like I mentioned, education unlocks so many other opportunities, especially in the very early years of our independence. Having a thriving, educated workforce was key to nation building. And besides, Shell also required educated workforce to support the nascent oil and gas industry at the time of independence. So that really drove the focus on education because education, like I said, unlocks all the other opportunities. So without education, so many other things that would support your nation to develop may remain stalled. So Shell's interest in education, had to do with supporting both its operations by having the required workforce, as well as supporting the education of those who would also support the nation in its development. So I think it was important for us to focus in education, and that focus hasn't changed even till today.
So is that really what it was about or is about? Is it really about supporting the nation? Or is it that Shell discovered we have a need, let's fill our need? Was it about the nation or is it just about Shell providing a pool for itself?
I think it was both, if you ask me, because um, the scholars who were supported at that time and even till today, uh, covered different disciplines, some not even related to the oil and gas industry.
Mm.
So the focus was to provide, to meet both objectives, as providing scholars or educated engineers and people in related oil and gas fields, as well as supporting the education of others who would fill up other opportunities in terms of providing manpower for nation building. So I think the objective was dual.
Mm. And how has this served both Shell and the nation right from the 50s, as you say, till now? What's been the impact thus far?
I think we could feel several journals with the impact of Shell scholarship across the decades we've been investing in education. Several firsts could be identified as Shell scholars, and in the course of the interview, maybe we could mention a few of them.
Mm.
So the role of Shell scholarship and educational interventions, I think it's been quite commendable. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the scholarships themselves.
Yeah.
Let's dig a little deeper now. How many types of scholarships does Shell have, and what are they?
Okay. So we have several Shell companies in Nigeria. We have the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited, which is our upstream business. We have a joint venture with the National Petroleum, uh, uh, Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, and its co-venture partners. We have Total Energies and Nigerian Ajip Oil Company in that joint venture. So under the SPDC, NMPC SPDC JV, we have about four different types of scholarships aimed at providing educational opportunities for people from secondary to tertiary and then postgraduate studies. So we have the regional Shell scholarship, which is open to students from our areas of operation in the Niger-Delta.
Mm.
We also have our special credit to career scholarship scheme,
Mm.
which is a full board scholarship that enables indigent students from less privileged backgrounds to access quality education in some of the best schools in Port Harcourt. And then we have our university scholarship. The university scholarship is in two categories. We have that for students from our areas of operations because that's our catchment area.
Mm.
We also have the university scholarship that's open to students from across the nation. So that's what we have under the SPDC. And before I forget, we also have the Niger-Delta Postgraduate Scholarship,
Mm.
which offers opportunities for students from the Niger-Delta to study abroad to pursue their postgraduate education in related oil and gas fields. So those are the ones under the SPDC, NMPC SPDC joint venture. Our Deepwater Business, the Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, the NNPC, SNEPCO, PSC, with the co-venture partners as well, Total Energies, NAOC, and ESSO Deepwater Limited, also have two different scholarships that they offer. We have the National Cradle to Career Scholarship Program. You recall the one for SPDC was limited to students from areas of operations. That of SNEPCO, the National Cradle to Career Scholarship Scheme, is open to Nigerians from the 36 states of the Federation, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. And then we also have the SNEPCO University Scholarship Program. So 6 programs in total under the university scholarship programs.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes.
Or imagine that applications, or efforts to be a recipient of the scholarships, competition must be very, very high. So there must be, and I don't think that there's an infinite amount of resources to cater for everyone who wants the scholarship. So there must be some selection process. How does Shell select the recipients of these scholarships?
Absolutely, Dio. So, the opportunities we offer are limited to the budget we have available each year. So we have both eligibility and selection criteria for the beneficiaries. So some of the programs are targeted at students from our areas of operations. So for you to qualify, you need to be eligible. You need to be from either Bayelsa, Rivers, Delta, or Imo states, which are the areas where we operate, and you need to be from the production areas where we have our operations.
So not just from those states, but you must be from the production areas as well.
Yes, where we operate, because they are targeted at, indigent students from those communities. So for the programs that are limited to, our areas of operation, to be eligible, you need to demonstrate that you're from communities where we operate. You need to meet the age requirements. For secondary school, you must not be more than 14 years because the scholarship is offered to students in their first year. For university, you have to meet a minimum requirement for the SPDC University Scholarship, undergraduate university scholarship, which is offered in the second year of your studies. You must have a minimum of 2.5 CGPA in your first year for the SPDC scholarship and 3.5 CGPA for the SNEPCO University scholarship. So students who meet those eligibility criteria are selected for tests and interviews, and they're usually very keenly contested for. So that's how we select students who enter into the programs.
Now, for those who say, for those scholarships that are targeted at members of host communities, you said that you have to show or prove that you are indigent.
Yes.
How exactly is that proven? Because I think that, and it may have happened before, I suspect, that persons who are not from those communities simply spring up or show up and say, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, it does happen. And we try to take measures to eliminate that. So in your application, you will naturally be required to submit a local government identification certificate. We all the local governments offer these certificates. And then with that certificate, when you're shortlisted for the interview, we verify from the communities themselves where you claim to come from. We go to the leadership of those communities and we ask them to verify that this particular candidate actually is from the community as stated in the local government identification letter. And we have consultants who help us do the screening. And, sometimes we've also identified students who have also falsely claimed to be from the local government. So we do our best to try and ensure that those who are selected actually meet the eligibility criteria. Yes.
Now, just a while ago, you listed and described in some detail all of the various scholarships on offer by Shell and generally the Shell companies in Nigeria. Can you elaborate more on specifically what the scholarships entail? What do the recipients gain or benefit from these various scholarships?
Okay, thanks. So for the SPDC JV regular secondary school scholarship, uh, the recipients receive an annual grant for the entire 6 years of their secondary education.
Mm.
And that annual grant usually supports the fees and some of the requirements of the students for the duration of their secondary school education. But the receipt of that grant annually is contingent upon you submitting your promotional examination results. So if we don't get your promotional examination results, you don't get the scholarship grant for the next year. So that's what students on for the regular secondary school scholarships receive. For those in the Cradle to Career, both the national Cradle to Career run by SNEPCO and the SPDC Cradle to Career program,
That's the one you described as
that's
special.
that's it. It's special because it aims to provide inclusive access to education for disadvantaged students.
Mm.
So the premise for developing that scheme was to demonstrate that students from disadvantaged backgrounds in the swamps, in the creeks of the Niger Delta, who may not have the opportunity to access quality education in the cities, if given that opportunity, would also thrive and excel, just like their peers who have had those opportunities, who have been exposed to those opportunities. So that scheme started in 2010. We pioneered that scheme, and we're very proud to say that the proof of that concept has been demonstrated over and over. That when you bring a student who is disadvantaged and you place him in a class with privileged students and given the same opportunity, they thrive just like their counterparts. So in that program, the C2C program, the Credit to Career, as we fondly call it, students are given full board educational scholarship. In other words, the students have to be in boarding schools, in the schools where we put them in. There are select secondary schools here in Port Harcourt we bring them into. We believe that for them to thrive, we need to bring them out of that environment where they've grown up, and we bring them into these institutions. They get full board scholarship, everything, both the school fees, the supplies for school, the provisions for school, even the transport fare for them to convey them to school from their communities for both them and their wards or parents is covered uh, by 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 the company. And so even when they graduate, they have automatic access into the university scholarship program as long as they are able to get admission into approved Nigerian universities. So that program is very special to us because in other words, we take these children as surrogate children. We become their surrogate parents while they're in school, and we manage their education. We mentor them. We coach them. We have volunteers from the company who help us to speak with these students and build up their confidence and self-esteem to ensure that they thrive in life. So
Yeah.
that's for the Cradle to Career program. The difference between the SPDC Cradle to Career program and the SNEPCO National Cradle to Career scheme is that, like I said, that for SPDC is limited to area of operation, communities where we operate, and we select the students from schools in the communities where we operate. In other words, you cannot be in a school in the city and then apply for that scholarship, even if you're from the community. So it's for students who have gone through primary school in the communities where we operate that we select, and we select the top candidates after a test to come into the Shell Scholar, the Credit to Career program. But at the SNEPCO National Credit to Career Scheme, we collaborate with the Nigerian Examinations Council, NECO, and they provide for us the top 10, 5 to 10 candidates from each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory the top candidates at the NECO secondary school entrance examination. So those top 5 to 10 candidates, and then, then undergo another screening. They go through a test and an interview. And then, depending on our budget for the year, we select maybe between 2 to 3 candidates from each of the states and the federal territory. And we have one school in each of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria where those students are assigned to. So that's the difference between the National Credit to Career Scheme and then the SPDC, NMPC SPDC JV Credit to Career program. And then we also have the university scholarship, like I mentioned. Students are eligible to apply for the university scholarship program in their second year of university. And to be eligible, you must have made a GPA of 2.5 and above for the SPDC scholarship, university scholarship, and then 3.5 in your first year for the SNEPCO scholarship. You just have to be in a Nigerian university to apply, and then there's a test that is conducted for all those who have been screened and selected and shortlisted for the test, and then we select the candidates into the programs. And then what they get is an annual grant for the entire duration of their university scholarship. That's basically how it works. For the Niger-Delta University Postgraduate Scholarship Scheme, the students also go through a eligibility and selection process, and they are tested. And those who make the cut at the end of the day, admitted into top British universities where they pursue their postgraduate scholarship, postgraduate education. But it's limited to fields related to the oil and gas industry. So those are the programs which we run, and those are the opportunities or the benefits for the beneficiaries of those programs.
I think of the use of your word surrogate when you're describing the Cricket Career Scholarship is quite apt.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to be present at one of the visiting days in one of the select schools here in Port Harcourt, and it was like a fanfare. And you had persons like yourself and other members of your team, and even leadership as well in Shell, SPDC, present there to be with the children, to have word with them, to speak with them, interact with them. Even their parents or guardians may or may not be present as well, provide food for them, have a great time, make them feel great. And that was really nice when I experienced that.
Yeah.
However, also interesting is to say that for the C2C, once again, it's a disadvantaged children and put them in what could be described as Ivy League schools. Are you concerned, or have you ever experienced that they experience a culture shock? I mean, taking a child from a remote, part of the community, villages sometimes, I know there are several such examples, to, once again, an Ivy League school where they're interacting and have to be in the same class with and hostels with and interact with well-off, advantaged, students. Are you concerned as to how that might affect them, maybe their confidence? Because they're literally experiencing things that they've never experienced before and possibly never even imagined that they could.
Indeed, Dayo, I think that's a huge risk for the children. We recognize that. And so what we do before they start is to have them go through a 3 to 4 week orientation in the school before the regular students resume.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we bring them in 3 to 4 weeks before the start of the academic year, and they go through some kind of orientation. We know it can be intimidating for some of these kids. It's quite daunting. They've been exposed to an environment they probably hadn't seen prior to this. Sometimes, some of them don't take it very well, but these children are quite resilient and adaptable. So what the 3 to 4 weeks orientation does for us is to help build their confidence. So we have a lot of guidance and counseling. We have a lot of coaching during this period. We take them through some of the things to expect during their 5 years in the school. We help them to build their confidence. We motivate them to tell them to this they're no different from the kids who would come in eventually that they would meet. It's just circumstances, and we just try to boost their confidence. And we've seen some of these children literally transform over the years they've been in those schools. And of course, children being children, when they interact with their peers, except you're told, you wouldn't see the difference because everything from their school uniforms, everything is the same in the school. As much as possible, we try to manage that risk. And the schools we partner with too are also very instrumental in supporting the success of this program. Understanding the philosophy behind our thinking, these schools were selected because they also align with that philosophy and they provide a lot of support to these students when they arrive to enable them settle and adjust to the environment which they would eventually find themselves. Have there been one or two cases where the kids haven't coped very well? I'd say yes. And such cases, those children have also been provided with additional support to help them overcome whatever barriers they may have experienced. Yeah.
I remember interacting with one of a critical career scholarship beneficiary. She's now in the university at the University of Port Harcourt, and she attended Bloombridge, of course, on Shell's bill. And it was a huge shock for her and her mother.
Yes.
The first day,
Yes.
Being told that her mother, being a widow, dad passed away some years ago, being told that they didn't have to come with anything,
Yes.
save the clothes that she had on,
Yes.
not even underwear.
Yes.
Don't bring anything. The
Yes.
school provided everything. It was a huge shock for them.
Yes,
And the girl, I remember the first holiday she was on and went back home, and I saw her and spoke with her, and she couldn't stop talking about the things in the school.
Yes.
We have this, we have that, there is this, and there is that. And it was incredible. It was a good feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
Mentorship. Is there any mentorship along the line? You talked about the guidance and counseling that goes on, before school resumes, but after school resumes, besides the educational program, is there anything else on the side that provides some kind of support for them in terms of mentorship or whatever else during the entire duration of the scholarship program?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, I said we assume the role of surrogate parents to these children. Every visiting day, we have a team of colleagues who visit these children in the schools. We have volunteers from Shell who also join us in those visits. We provide coaching sessions when we visit them because their parents can't come for every visiting day. So we assume that role. We go through their challenges. We ask them questions about the school and how they've been treated. We provide them career guidance counseling. We bring in people with expertise in child psychology to speak with them. We coach them. We help to inspire them to also aim for excellence in their education. Those who are struggling, we identify the areas where they are being challenged, and we work with the school to provide mitigations to close the gaps for those children. It's a holistic approach to developing these kids. And it doesn't end actually with the school. We have a group on social media where we interact with them also, even when they're on holidays, even when they graduate from the schools, supporting them to apply for universities, checking in on them, ensuring that they continue to feel included and cared for, even while they're on holidays. So it's a lot that we do in terms of mentoring, coaching. Some of them, when they go back on holidays, they have challenges at home, There's so many other things, that personal situations that they go through at home that we actually get involved in to help them cope. And like I said, the schools also have been very instrumental. We can't thank them enough for going over and above the call of duty to support these students. And as Nigerians, looking after each other is one of also the very strong virtues that we have in this country. And we've seen parents of regular students actually also get involved in the children of the friends of their children who happen to be cradle to career students, and actually even follow up with them and take them back home for holidays to spend time with their children in their home. So it's been a whole gratifying experience with the cradle to career, and it's everybody pitching together. In Africa we say it takes a village to raise a child. And I think with the cradle to career, that proverb or that adage is really exemplified because everybody pitches in. Yeah.
This canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by SPDC. On this edition, we're discussing Shell scholarships turning dreams to reality. My guest is Emmanuel. I am Sponsorships Social Investments Manager for Shell Companies in Nigeria. We'll go for a break. We'll return in a moment. Conversation will continue. Do please stay with us.
Our yellow and black markers indicate pipeline and flow line right-of-way boundaries. Your activity could impact on the buried high-pressure hydrocarbon pipelines and flow lines, leading to possible leaks and explosion. Please keep off. Do not engage in sand mining or any form of excavation, pipeline vandalism, oil theft, and bush burning within pipeline and flow line right-of-way. Do not farm, trade, or locate any business on pipeline and flow line right-of-way. It is against the law to apportion land, sell, or build on pipeline and flow line right-of-way. Maintain a setback distance of at least 30 meters or about 100 feet from the right-of-way boundaries always. We care for your safety and that of the environment.
This message is brought to you by the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited, SPDC, operator of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, Total Energies, and Ajib Joint Venture.
And welcome back. It is Canvas and Niger-Delta Roundtable brought to you by SPDC. I'm Dio. On this edition, we're discussing Shell scholarships and which turning dreams to realities. And my guest is Emmanuel Ayim, Sponsorship and Social Investments Manager, Shell Companies in Nigeria. Emmanuel, you're welcome again.
Thanks for having me again, Dio.
Over the years, you mentioned earlier at the start of this conversation that one of the first, if not the first, I think, social investments embarked on by Shell when it made first land into Nigeria, if you will, was in the area of education.
Yes.
From that time till now, it's been decades. I'm sure hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, possibly, I'm not sure what the numbers are, have been beneficiaries of Shell scholarships at various levels of the various kinds, which you also listed and described in detail a while ago. Do you remember any, or are there, that you find noteworthy, special examples of some of these past beneficiaries of the scholarships, ones that really do stand out for you personally?
Dio, I think we could run this interview or this podcast for days, just going through the list of notables of the Shell scholars, But the few that, at a personal level are quite notable. So I'll mention one first, who is an ancient scholar, Mr. Basil Omi, who incidentally was the first Nigerian managing director of the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited.
Uh-huh.
He's a proud Shell scholar. And we're very proud of him and his contributions to the development of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. Another ancient scholar who is also very proud to be associated with the Shell Educational Scholarship Program is engineer Mike Engineer Greg Ugbeifun. Engineer Greg Ugbeifun is a leading light in the maritime industry in Nigeria. He is the chairman of Stars Company Limited, which is a maritime logistics company. And he was also one-time managing director of the Nigerian National Shipping Line. He was a Shell scholar back in the early days, and he also is a very proud. He very proudly acknowledges the impact of the Shell scholarship in shaping his career. I'd like to talk about two more recent examples who incidentally also have been on this program to share their stories. The first one is a gentleman called Isaiah Inaibo. Isaiah Inaibo was a member of the pioneering cohort of the Shell Credit to Career Scholarship Scheme in 2010. Isaiah hails from Ogula community in Burutu local government area of Delta State. Isaiah joined the program, like I said, at inception in 2010. Incidentally, during the orientation for that cohort, I met Isaiah as a young child, who was lacking in confidence, who actually couldn't really properly express himself back then. Isaiah went on to be one of the best graduating students in Brookstone College in 2016, and then proceeded to Afe Babalola University and graduated with a first-class honors degree in electrical and electronics engineering with a CGPA of 4.81 from Afe Babalola University. We're really proud of Isaiah and the support he received from us. Isaiah comes from a very difficult background. His childhood was quite difficult. In fact, on this program, he mentioned that when he was told that he had been selected for the Credit to Career Scholarship, he was actually in the fishing port in the high seas in his community. They had to take a boat to come and inform him at the fishing port that he had been selected for this scholarship.
I remember that conversation.
Absolutely.
But it was before we started the podcast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He's one of 10 children who didn't have any hope of advancing his education beyond the primary school in his community. And today, I can proudly tell you that Isaiah has graduated from the University of Bradford. He has completed a master's degree in satellite systems engineering, sponsored by Brookstone School, where he finished his secondary school. The school was so impressed in him, and they went on to support his education, even to master's level at the University of Bradford, United Kingdom. And he's just completed that program now, and hopefully Isaiah has really the sky's his limit to what he can accomplish. He's one student we're very proud of. He mentors other C2C students. He's always present at our graduation programs to encourage those who are coming after him. And he's one who we are very proud of. Another one I'm also very proud of is Dr. Nene Osarueba, who hails from LMA local government area of River State. Nene graduated with distinction from the PAMO University of Medical Sciences. She was one of the best graduating students. She graduated with 6 distinctions in medicine and surgery. And she's also one that has been on this program to proudly tell her story. So these two recent examples I mentioned, transformative. Their journey has been transformational because we see how they developed when they first came into the program and what they've gone on to accomplish for themselves. And like I said, the modern proof of concept that when you expose children, even though from disadvantaged backgrounds, with their peers who are more privileged, and you expose them to the same educational opportunities, they thrive.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And by the way, we have an episode involving or including Dr. Nanel Sarab on the podcast. You can watch that at your own convenience some other
Indeed.
time. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
Besides the scholarships, which you've elaborated on, what other initiatives does Shell have in place to support education?
Okay. So um, in Shell, we have adopted the holistic approach to educational advancement in the country. And all is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which is to provide inclusive and equitable access to education and lifelong learning opportunities for all. So we adopt a holistic approach. The scholarships help to ensure access for everyone, even those who are disadvantaged. We also have university scholarship for people living with living with physical limitations, people living with disabilities. We have a quota of our university scholarship for those particular set of individuals, all to ensure that nobody is left behind in our educational scholarship. So access to education is one part. Also providing equitable and modern educational facilities for students is also part of our educational scholarship. Providing students with the infrastructure that they need to advance their education. So we know that there are gaps in infrastructure in schools and universities in Nigeria. So we also have social investment supporting schools bridge those gaps. We also have an industry and academia collaboration. And I can say, I think without being disputed, that Shell remains the only oil company in Nigeria that has a university relations team. We have a professor who is on sabbatical to Shell who heads that team, looking at how we can continue to improve our collaboration with academia. So, in that respect, we have several professorial chairs that we endow, supporting those universities to advance research and development in fields or disciplines related to the oil and gas industry. We also have 3 centers of excellence where we provide very niche and specialized advanced postgraduate studies for students in those disciplines. We have the Center of Excellence for uh, uh, um, geosciences and marine engineering at the River State University. We have also another Center of Excellence for geosciences at the University of Benin. And then we have the Center of Excellence for climate change and green energy at the Enugu campus of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So those centers of excellence provide postgraduate studies for students in these fields. We also have sabbatical and internship opportunities for sabbatical and interns to come to Shell and spend 6 to 12 months to gain industry experience, which can then help to also improve their academic work and research. So all these different interventions in education beyond our scholarships that we invest in to provide improvements in education across the nation. Infrastructure-wise, we've invested a lot in developing different infrastructural projects for universities. We have an ICT center that we completed for the Federal University of Petroleum Resources at Efun. We recently completed an ultra-modern library for the Niger-Delta University in Bayelsa State. And recently we commissioned the ICT Center for the formerly Bauchi State University in Bauchi, amongst so many other infrastructural projects that we complete for different institutions across the nation.
No. And I know that shared collaboration is key. How can educational institutions partner or collaborate with organizations such as Shell to further provide support for students who especially need them?
Yeah. So being in the industry, we see advancements in technology. We see advancements related to our industry. We see advancements in technology that helps to improve society generally. So in collaborating with the academia, we kind of point them to areas where we have evolving disciplines where they can then help to train and provide the manpower to meet those requirements. We also have challenges from our operations where we partner and collaborate with academia to look into research in those areas to help identify solutions to the challenges of the industry. And then we also see the academia as playing an instrumental role in helping to train the qualified manpower to support the advancement of technology in Nigeria. We need academia to help us develop and train those individuals who will be ready for the industry to absorb and fill those opportunities. Yeah.
Change is constant, even with Shell and Shell companies in Nigeria and Shell worldwide. Constantly, Shell's business model as a business entity also is evolving, as we're currently witnessing or have been witnessing the last few years, of course. Um, what do you see, or how do you see Shell scholarships evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, education also is evolving. We're now focusing more on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics courses as the world evolves, and transforms technologically. Our scholarship and educational programs also have to identify how we can evolve with those changes to ensure that we are training scholars who would help us fill in the gaps that may open up with these constant changes. Sustainability is also a key aspect of our programs. How do we sustain our programs given the funding limitations that we have? So we're also looking at how we can collaborate more with other entities, how we can link our programs with the host community development trust of the Petroleum Industry Act, that provides funding for communities through the trust to provide interventions to help improve the socioeconomic development of our communities. So sustainability is going to be key for our future activities and how we ensure that we continue to support Nigerian students to realize their dreams.
I particularly like that you mentioned the arts when you were listing the areas of focus around like science, technology, and you mentioned the arts because that gives me some comfort because I think it suggests that gone are the days when you only considered intelligent or having something to offer if you were in the sciences, and the arts was meant for not so bright students. I think that's not the case in London.
No, it isn't. So we talk about STEAM now instead of STEM. So it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Yeah.
We've discussed quite a lot in the course of this conversation. And I'm certain anyone who needs to find out more or even know at all about Shell scholarships can simply watch this episode over again and they will know almost all, if not all, that they need to know. But for persons who may want access to more resource regarding Shell scholarships, where can they get these materials?
We have a web page in Shell, www.shellnigeria.com. You will see a link to social investments on that page, and then you can access the various information on the various scholarships that are on offer. We also advertise widely whenever it's time to seek for applicants for or applications into each of these programs. We do advertise them very widely, and you would get to know either through the print or through the various social media channels whenever it's time for us to seek applications for entry into any of the programs.
Once again, I'm certain that the contests to win a Shell scholarship must be very, very tough, must be very stiff, especially in our climes where the economy is pretty tough on the vast majority of Nigerians. What advice do you have for students applying for Shell scholarships who hope that they can be the next Isaiah or the next Nanel Sareba or the next other ancient scholars you mentioned just a few earlier on?
So my advice would be for them to work hard and, keep looking for opportunities for these educational scholarships. Whenever we advertise, they should look out for those opportunities. But beyond that, because the scholarships are fiercely contested for, they have to be at their best to be able to access those opportunities. So in summary, I'll just ask them to just keep working hard, and hopefully whenever we call for applications, they may be one of the successful candidates. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And on that note, we wrap up this episode of Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by SPDC. We've discussed how Shell scholarships turning dreams to reality. My guest on the podcast for this episode has been Emmanuel Ayim. Emmanuel, it's been great having you here. Thank you for your time. And the great work you and the team are doing to bring joy to the lives of several students and their families and turn their dreams to reality.
Thank you very much, Diane. It's been my pleasure speaking with you on something that's very close to our heart. Thank you.
Watch this episode again and catch other episodes from the Canvas podcast on our various social media channels. Thanks for watching this once again. I'm Adedayo Olushake. Bye.